Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is my colleague, Forbes staff writer, Zach Everson. Zach, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on again, Brittany. Appreciate it.
You have an interesting story for us about Donald Trump. It's how Trump lost millions on his DC hotel years after he sold it. So first, if you could give us the origin story here, how did he acquire this property in the first place?
Oh boy. So we're going way back to around 2012, where Trump won a competitive process from the U.S. government to redevelop the old post office in DC, which is on Pennsylvania Avenue, a couple blocks from the White House. There's a beautiful big building that had kind of fallen into hard times. It was like a down market food court. And when I'd have friends come and visit me in DC, they'd drive by and say, "What's that building?" And I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't get excited. It's not much on the inside. Trump won the government contract to turn that into a hotel, beating out a bunch of other competitors, including one that involved Hilton. And he committed to invest $200 million in renovating the hotel, which he did spend. And honestly, it looks beautiful both inside and out. And then he also committed to a 60-year lease of paying the U.S. government through the GSA $250,000 a month. So that is how he came into it. The hotel opened in 2016, just a couple weeks before Trump was elected.
I know that you said Hilton. Hilton actually tried to stop him. Can you talk about their plan and what they did? It ultimately failed, but give us some details there.
Yeah, so this consortium that included Hilton Worldwide, which planned to turn the hotel into a Waldorf Astoria, which is one of the main luxury hotel brands that DC did not have. We have Four Seasons, we have several Ritz-Carltons, there's a St. Regis. They wanted to open that as a Waldorf Astoria, and they protested the decision to award the contract to Trump, saying that the General Services Administration just looked at who was going to pay the highest rent. They said that they did not, it didn't seem like GSA properly vetted Mr. Trump. And to make sure that GSA did have the information it needed, they provided pages upon pages of news clippings of the times that Donald Trump had taken hotels into bankruptcy, that projects he started didn't come to fruition, that he stiffed creditors. But the GSA contracting official said on a technicality that there was no actual way for Hilton to appeal that decision. And so Trump went ahead and did open that as a hotel.
Well, did Donald Trump have enough money to buy it in the first place?
That was part of Hilton's thing. Hilton said he did not have enough money. He would not be able to afford it, was the main part of their objection, in that the revenue that he would need to bring in to offset the $200 million he was going to spend on renovating it was just way out of line with what the DC luxury market could handle. GSA said they looked at the financials and they thought it was fine. And as we're talking about this years later, it was clear that Hilton was correct and GSA was wrong.
But before it was clear that Hilton was right, it did open about 2 weeks before the election in 2016. So it was open, then Donald Trump wins. Did the hotel benefit financially from Trump being president?
It's tough to say definitively. It definitely brought in revenue that it wouldn't have received otherwise. I mean, there was no shortage of Republican groups flocking to spend money there. I think there were like 220 different payments to the Trump's DC hotel in the first 14 months it was open, just looking through campaign filings with the FEC. You would find all sorts of senators, congressmen, more than half of the people who served in his administration were there. There was a foreign diplomat famously told the Washington Post that, of course, you'd go there. You want to be seen there and you want to let the president know that you went to his business. Now, the downside of that was you barely saw any Democrats there. You did not see much spending. I think Joe Manchin was the only elected Democratic member of Congress that I spotted there. But, it did scare away a lot of people. It looks like the hotel did pretty well on food and beverage from events and from restaurants in the lobby, but the room rates, people just weren't booking those rooms.
So Hilton's prediction ultimately comes true, you're reporting. So how did the hotel's actual revenue compare to what the Trump organization estimated it would be in order to get the contract?
It was significantly below. In 2017, the revenue was 52 million. That's $35 million less than what the Trump organization projected. And we got a lot of these documents through the New York Attorney General's recent civil case against Trump. And revenue stayed pretty flat the following years. 53 million in 2018, 52 million in 2019, and then obviously the pandemic hit, which is not Trump's fault by any stretch, at least in terms of business on his hotel. But then revenue plummeted 60%, and it was shortly after he left that he dumped the hotel.
So the revenue wasn't meeting the actual projections. So talk to us about Trump's journey in trying to sell this hotel.
So he first floated it on the market in 2019, according to a report from CNBC. He was asking $500 million, which a lot of industry experts seemed preposterous. Apparently, a lot of would-be hotelers also agreed. He did not get a bid anywhere near that. In fact, a lot of them even came in at less than half of what he was asking. So took it off the market and then came back and put it up again in 2021 when he was out of office. And this time he did find a buyer, someone who was willing to pay $370 million to own the lease to the hotel.
So talk to us about that, because you described the move as lucky in your piece. So talk to us about the buyer and how they struck up this deal and what were the details of it.
Sure. The buyer was a group called CGI Merchant Group. They are based out of Florida. And to be blunt, they overpaid. Somehow Trump was able to find a group to pay a lot more than what everybody else thought that lease was worth. It was a money loser. So, he clearly lucked out there and was able to walk away with a $120 million payday when the deal did in fact go through. Though, as what we learned later is that for the deal to happen, he had to provide a loan to CGI Merchant Group. It didn't have enough money to pay for some of the taxes involved in the transaction. Now, I'm not a real estate developer. I'm a journalist in a rented house. But to me, that's just a red flag. If if somebody's buying this hotel and they don't actually have enough money to cover all of the fees up front. So anyways, Trump loaned them the money that they needed, $28 million or so, and they failed to pay it. They failed to make the first payment, they failed to make two additional payments, they had to keep amending the loan. And so in June, Trump took them to court, filing that he had only received $100,000 of this $28 million loan at that point.
So now at this point, present day, how much does CGI owe Trump? And is he ever going to see that money again?
He's claiming it's $31.5 million plus interest that's accruing as this case goes through the courts. It doesn't seem likely that he's going to see this money. What happened is that CGI didn't just fail to pay Trump, it also failed to pay its main lender for the building, which is a group called BDT and MSD Partners, which is a merchant bank connected with Michael Dell. And it failed to pay, it financed most of the $375 million from them. It failed to pay them. The BDT and MSD gave them a couple chances to renegotiate or get a little extra time to make some payments. That didn't happen. And then the lender ended up foreclosing on the property and took ownership of it back in August. So what's interesting here, though, is that when Trump sold it to CGI, they worked with Waldorf Astoria. You remember Hilton Worldwide? They worked with Hilton Worldwide to go make it into a Waldorf Astoria, and now the new owners are keeping it as a Waldorf Astoria. So, we've had three leaseholders of this hotel in less than 3 years. Waldorf Astoria is now the one running it. I reached out saying, hey, do you still think this lease is financially unsound? And, they sent me back some corporate speak and did not address that question.
So the property is still a Waldorf Astoria. Talk to us a little bit about it. Is it still functioning? And what does that lease look like? And is this financially sound?
The lease is the same. No one else bid on it when it went up to auction, according to the auctioneer. BDT, MSD paid, I think it was $100 million for it. They're keeping it as a Waldorf. I don't understand how they're going to make it work when the previous two owners did not. It's a functioning Waldorf. It's very nice. I went there Sunday. I had a lovely salad with some salmon, and the hotel looks very much the same. They added some greenery to it, but if you look at political patrons, you're going to find campaigns like Nancy Pelosi's who have been going there. But by and large, it looked the same. And I think going back, I think Trump did a very good job renovating that hotel. And if you're just a customer going there, you're not necessarily going to notice the difference at all. Like I don't think you will. The level of service there was fantastic, exactly what you'd expect out of a Waldorf Astoria type hotel.
Well, Zach Everson, per usual, thanks for the conversation. Thanks for the reporting. Already looking forward to the next one.
My pleasure. Got to go expense that meal at the Waldorf now.